So I am so excited that we're recording this. And I would think that both of us, and we'll introduce ourselves in a second, but 3 weeks ago, I'm not sure either one of us would have imagined that we would be recording this on a Zoom call.
No.
Fair?
Fair.
All right. Well, I am Stephanie Patty. If I haven't had the opportunity to meet anybody that could be watching this, I have an organization called Women Worship and Work because I am really, really passionate about bringing God's word to all aspects of our life. But I happen to be a working woman outside of the home. I am a leadership and sales coach and could not be more excited that you took like the 3 seconds to click on this video, and we are going to make sure it's worth your while. Jen, tell them about you.
Hey friends, I'm Jennifer Holloway. My day job is marketing, all things marketing, but I'm also a believer, and I share Stephanie's passion for just bringing the word to everyday life, and just helping meet people where they are in their lives and just get in the word and know God more. So I'm so excited we're together. I think that you have a plan for like how we're going to like unfold this story, but I'm happy that you're here. We're so excited that you're thinking about joining us on this journey through the Bible. So Steph, I'll let you like continue to cue us here.
Well, I think you set us up great. Your background is really different than mine. Mm-hmm. So even when I just learned about your dad a couple of weeks ago, you just said it in passing and I was like, oh my gosh, we could not have much more different backgrounds. So share them about, your background and maybe how you became, you mentioned you're a believer. How did you become a believer?
Sure. So I grew up in the church. So my husband likes to say that he was in church every time the doors were open. Well, I like to say I was in church every time the doors were open. And even when they weren't, I was still there. My dad's a pastor. So I grew up just watching him, learning from him. I was a preacher's kid. We were at church all the time. There were a lot of like expectations that I knew what I was talking about, when that has not always been true. Gosh, it still probably is not true. But I came to know the Lord as a 7th grader. I attended a youth retreat, and to quote John Wesley from the Methodist Church, my heart was strangely warm. So I asked Jesus into my heart. And then I kind of had gone through, I guess you would say, ups and downs since I came to know the Lord, where there have been seasons of my life where I was really far away, and seasons of my life where I felt just closer to him and more intentional in my walk. So I think that we'll get to that kind of like plays into, I know, something we're going to talk about later. Do you want me to talk about how I met you?
Sure, go ahead. Because it's part of my background story.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
So I'm from Mississippi originally. I don't know if you can still hear my drawl come out, but I'm from Mississippi. Stephanie's like, don't you worry, we can. So my husband is in oil and gas. So we moved out here. I was like a freshly newlywed. This was 12 and a half years ago-ish. We moved to Houston, Texas, and we started going to the Houston's First Baptist Church. And we joined a Bible study there called Newlywed or Close. So it was all these couples that had recently gotten either married or engaged. So we were meeting all of these like-minded people in our stage of life. And I started going to a Bible study that Stephanie was a part of. So this was like, a long time ago. We did this Bible study together, and I met you then. So I'll let you kick off. So that's where we met. Okay. A long time ago.
Yeah, well, and I'll get to that piece, but I don't think our backgrounds could have been more different. And I think my dad actually might watch this video at some point, because one of the women that are joining is my stepmom. So she's going to read the Bible with us for the full year. So I want to say that I am so thankful for my parents, and I love them so very much, but I had a very different childhood. I came from a divorced home. We had no money. We didn't go to church. And sometime around high school, I started exploring church a little bit, which we had a Methodist church right down the road. So I would dabble, but I was also dabbling in all the things in high school that you're not supposed to be dabbling with. And then I went to college, Texas A&M, Gig'em. I like to say it's the closest thing to a Christian private university without being a Christian private university. And I don't know when, at some point between like 16 and first year of college, I was saved. I don't have like the shining light and all that, but I feel confident if I passed away, I was going to heaven. What I didn't know at all was how to have a relationship with God, which really didn't come for a long, long time, even way after I met you, but also just how to walk the walk. So I would have moments of, I don't know what else to do, so I'm going to pray. I don't know what else to do, so I'll open a Bible and see what's there. But I just had accepted him in my heart. Like I wasn't doing really anything else as far as letting him lead my life. So when I think about like somebody like you, there's always a lot of envy and maybe even, and good envy, like not bad envy, but just like I wish it would have been a little bit different. And maybe like I can't compete with Jennifer. And I know you don't feel that way, but I just say that for the woman that's thinking, I don't know the Bible. I've never read the Bible. Like I still like to drink a whole lot of wine, or I cuss some, like whatever. You are welcome here, and God will change you where he feels like you need to be changed at the time that you need to be changed, if you need to be changed. Like that's not what it's all about. But at some point I started walking the walk, and then and really started getting more into what that looked like. And about 3 years ago, I walked into a church, and I said, our church is Second Baptist North, and I live in the Humboldt-Kingwood area of Houston, and they were reading the Bible. And I said, okay, I'm going to do this. Like I'm going to read the Bible for the very first time all the way through. And I just committed to it. And my reading the Bible, I think, was more out of desperation. I was moving up in my career, 2 young kids. I was just stretched through and through, and I didn't know where else to go. And I only bring that back, and then I want you to tell why you decided to read the Bible the very first time. Because when I met you, you told our story about where we met a little bit. Again, young in our marriage, like we were trying to do the right things, but we weren't letting him be Lord of our life. We weren't letting him be Lord in our, in our, I guess, in our marriage, home, everything. And so I've known you for a long time, but it's not like we've been like this. We've been spiritual friends and prayed for each other and things like that, but never in a million years would I have thought you and I would be doing this, because I just kind of thought we were so different and worlds apart. So I don't even know if I've ever shared that with you, but now you know.
Should we talk about how we reconnected? What brought us to reconnect, or no?
Yeah, do that and then share why you decided to read the Bible.
I think this is a fun story of God working. So I was going through, which you guys, if you join us on this journey, I know that I'm going to talk about it more because it's played a big part of my life in the last year. But I was going through some turmoil, professional turmoil, trying to make a decision. I will spare you the drama, but some kind of drama had been happening where I needed to make a decision. I thought I knew what I wanted to do, and I did it. And I was like, yeah, God, you told me what to do. And now I did it. And then something happened that confused me. And I was like, wait, did I do the right thing? Was I listening to God, or was I listening to me? Or I don't know what to do. I don't know how to make this decision. So I'm praying. I wake up first thing in the morning. I'm praying, literally pick up my phone. Very first email in my inbox is from Stephanie. And it says something like trying to make a hard decision. Here's my divine decision-making guide. Let scripture guide you. And I'm like, okay, God, I see what you're doing here. So anyway, we reconnected, and your guide really helped me walk through that decision in a godly manner. But God brought us together. So I guess we'll talk about that a little bit further on. But so I read the Bible for the first time this year. So we're recording this, it's the end of 2022. And at the end of last year, my Bible study class at my church, which is the Woodlands First Baptist, is where we go now, was reading the Bible. The women were. And I remember thinking, so no shame if this thought is in your head. I remember thinking that seems really hard. I don't think I have time for that, basically was where my head was at. But I was also dealing with, and I share this to hopefully relate to someone, but I was dealing with this really hard inner shame of knowing that I needed to be reading my Bible and not figuring out how to build the habit of doing that. So this was what was happening. Every week I would open my Bible app. That's how I read the word. I would open my Bible app on Sunday morning, and the Bible would still be on the passage that the pastor spoke on last Sunday. And every Sunday morning, it was just like
yes.
I know this is not right. And I would try. There were so many things that I tried, and I tried to read the Bible before. And then like, it really was. So all my friends were doing this. They were all going to read the Bible together. I was like, that seems hard. I'm busy. Like, I have a job. I have 2 kids. I have a husband. I have volunteer responsibilities. Like, I didn't feel like I had time. So New Year's Day hits, and all my friends are like, we're reading. And I'm like, okay, fine, I'll read too. Like, I literally made the decision on New Year's Day as everyone was starting to read. And I really think what made it stick this time. So now it's December 14. I'm on track to finish the Bible this year. I'm really proud of that, like learning how to build that habit, which I hope to teach you guys too, the tricks that I used. But I think the reason it stuck is because I did it in community. Yeah. So I had these other ladies that were holding me accountable in a nice way, but holding me accountable. I saw all their faces on the plan in the Bible app. So anytime I was like, oh, my friend Dara has her check today, like I need to get my check too, so I can be like Dara and like be on track with all my friends. So the community, I think, is what made the difference for me. But it was really a last minute decision that God just kind of honored and then just worked in powerful ways in my life through.
You know, that's speaking to me because I'm a leadership coach and a sales coach, and I do trainings and I do facilitations all the time. And I am thinking, okay, if this gets out this week, like I hope it gets out by Friday, which would be December 16th. I feel so behind. And, but you know what? I think I walked into church like the last week right before New Year's, and it was the same thing for me. It was just like, okay, it's here. It's somebody's doing it, so I can follow along and I can ask questions if I have questions. So I'll just do it. So you're even speaking to me on the fact that it doesn't have to be perfect. And I think that's one of the things that we wanted to talk about a little bit is we're not even promising perfection here. So we know that we want to come together at least once a month, hop on a Zoom call, have an opportunity to get to know you, share what we're going through, maybe ask some of the hard questions. Like there's been some really cool things that I've learned in going through the journey and listening to Tara Lee Cobble's podcast that she has that you can listen to every day on your reading and different things. But we're going to be imperfect too. Like we're going to get behind. So you said that we would talk about some tricks. Let's give them one. I'm going to give them my one trick when I get behind. I hit play in the shower. So when I get really behind, it is going on while I'm like doing my makeup, all that kind of stuff. But there's literally a corner spot in the shower. And I took a picture, so I'll probably post of my phone sitting there, and I listen to it in the shower. So what's your one trick?
So I have more. We'll talk about them more later. But the one thing that I think made the big difference for me, again, I have 2 young kids. So basically the idea that I'm going to wake up and I'm going to come out of my room and I'm going to go have my coffee and read the Bible, just anytime that happens, my children find me. I don't know, like you can relate to that, but they find me every time. So I just had to find a time that worked with my stage of life. And for me right now, that happens to be, I wake up like a little bit earlier. I read from bed. Before I even get out of bed, it's the very first thing that I do. And then I'll listen to the podcast while I'm getting ready, basically. So I'm like you in terms of like the multitasking. I know a lot of people that listen instead of read, and they'll do it like when they're doing their makeup or, and that's okay. It's okay to fall behind also. I think the important thing is that you're trying, right? Mm-hmm. Like you're trying and you're working towards like your goal, whatever it is. I think that goal should be read your Bible every day, but you're working towards that. So it's okay. Again, it's okay to fall behind. I fell behind a ton. I still fall behind. Like,
well, me too. Okay, so I have two questions that kind of led to. So one I didn't prep you for, but I I am just curious because there's no question in my mind. You starting your journey of reading the Bible, you knew the Bible more than I did when I started reading the journey. And so I know how it kind of changed me going through it from, beginning to end. I'm curious, as someone who I would envision knew the word pretty well, like what has been the most eye-opening for you start to finish? Now in a couple of days, you're going to be done.
It's funny that you say that, because the thing that was most eye-opening to me is that I didn't know it like I thought I did. Like, I mean, I had a lot of gaps. The majority, again, I would try to like get into the word and read, but even in my most dedicated kind of stints, I was still reading maybe like one book at a time, or you know what I mean? I wasn't like seeing everything holistically. And it like this process just kind of illuminated what I was getting from the pulpit, what I was getting from like Sunday school, and like my biblical foundation, which I did have, like was not sufficient for me to fully understand. Like as an adult believer, I think like you need to read it all.
Well, and I'll take it to the next level. I'm putting words in your mouth, but probably to reach the potential of who you need to be as the woman who you're called to be. I think for me, I had at that point in my life when I read it, I was really into self-help, and I was listening to a lot of podcasts and reading the books and all that kind of stuff. And I was so surprised on like, there is nothing new in the Bible that I'm going through that they haven't been through. Like, I mean, it's raunchy. Like it's raunchy. It's all the things coupled in one that we're not supposed to know as Christians or do as Christians. It's all in there. And so it was just really, really reassuring to me that I wasn't the first person that had been through this. And also I won't be the last. And I actually got tactical tips and tricks and different things on how I can apply it to my life. So, okay, one more question. Well, maybe a few more, but I think we're nearing the end. I don't think that you had it in your plan to finish the Bible on the 31st and then start it again on the 1st, but you're doing it, and you're doing it with us. I'm so excited, but like, walk me through that a little bit.
Actually, I did want to do it again. So this worked out like nicely. Or can we I guess let's talk about how we synced up to do this together. Yeah. So I get reconnected to Steph through the Divine Decision Making Guide. I just text her and I'm like, hey, like this crazy thing happened, like God's really using you. And so we kind of reconnect. She finds out that I'm doing marketing consulting, and she's like, hey, I could use some marketing consulting. So we're chatting, and you already had this idea on your heart. You weren't sure yet, what it might look like. But in the course of so one of the ways that God worked in my life by reading the Bible, first off, like, I feel like that just accelerated like spiritual growth, like period, like in so many areas. Like I'm listening to, and you don't have to do this, but I'm listening to Christian music faithfully, and that's like causing a lot of change in my life. And I'm listening to sermons, which I never would like that's not old Jennifer wouldn't do that, but now I'm interested and I want to listen and I want to learn. So all these things are happening. And I experience a call, which maybe we'll talk about that more later on. But my call ultimately ended up being to write and teach a Bible study. I'm teaching it at my church in the spring. And the mission that he laid on my heart through that call is to help other believers build the habit of reading their Bible every day. And I don't have even now like a fully clear picture on the fullness of what that looks like. But Stephanie was talking to me about like, and I'm speaking at you like you're not here. But you were talking.
I forgot my name already.
Yeah. You're talking to me about this idea of you felt really called to assemble a group of women to help them read the Bible and be encouraged and understand that we can all fail forward together. And I'm like, whoa, that's weird, because God called me to like help believers build the habit of getting in the word every day. And I have a heart for women. So you were like, hey, let's, do you want to partner with me on this? And I said, yes. So here we are. I've already forgotten where like the beginning of this question. But that's why we're doing this together, because God placed a similar call on both of our hearts.
Well, Annie brought us together. So you said something just now that I don't even know if you remember, but I remember like it was yesterday when I was thinking about leaving corporate America. I knew that I was doing some sort of coaching type business, and I wanted to start Women Worship and Work. But I was struggling a little bit because I had been receiving some guidance and some different perspective around don't just impact women. And I remember you told me, you said, and again, now I'm getting chills because it's not like we talked all the time. Okay. Well, I've talked more to you in the last 2 weeks than I've talked to you in our whole life.
Yes, agreed.
But you said God will close that gap for men. Like, you need to go where you're called. And so that gave me confidence to move forward. And then another thing, when you talk about the divine decision-making guide, I was so nervous to send that out. Like, I think sometimes when people post stuff or do stuff or whatever on social, and it's like, oh, I have this, like behind the scenes, it's like, oh my gosh, when I hit send, this is very vulnerable. And I prayed, like, just get it to one woman. And then you text me. Right. And so I just think it is incredible. We cannot even fathom what God will do with just a little bit of obedience, just a little bit. So I just want to encourage you. I don't know if you're in Jennifer's situation where like the Christian faith has been a part of your life since the day that you can basically remember, and you've done this and you've done that, but you've never actually read the word. Or maybe you have, and there's so much knowledge that you can impart to us that maybe aren't where you are in your journey. Or if you're like me, or at least where I was in the sense of, I love Jesus, I want to know him more. So I guess I'll do this. Like, that's basically why I said yes. Either way, we welcome you. We are excited for you. And there's just one more little thing that I want to talk about that's not so little. It's not going to be some massive group. I'd say we already have a small but mighty group. We'll see what God does with it. But you're going to be a part of some really cool women. I mean, women, they're not all in Texas. They're all over the country. We have some speakers. We have women that have run businesses, that are running businesses. We have some women that aren't working. They're out of the workforce. And so it's going to be an awesome opportunity to connect with women that I know there will be some women that match your season, but also that we can learn from the women who don't. Is there anything else that you would add?
And I think that we've said this earlier in the call, but just to like finish it off strong, I guess. I don't know what God has in store for this. Maybe his only purpose in this is for me and Stephanie to grow, and that's fine if that's what it is. But I know if you commit to read the Bible, God is going to work in your life in powerful ways. Like, I don't have to know you. I don't have to know your story to know that to be true. So like, I like you, Stephanie, you wrote a piece of copy for this effort that we've been like working on trying to build this community. And you said, it was something like, let's see what God can do with just a mustard seed of obedience. So like, we hope that you're going to throw in your mustard seed with us today. Okay. We hope to have you on this journey with us. I promise, like, God's going to work. So let's see what he's going to do.
Yeah, he is. All right. Awesome. Well, we hope you'll join us. All the information is on the landing pages and emails and all the good stuff. So reach out, DM me wherever you're seeing this. I don't know. But we will be downloading our new plan January 1st. And then on January 6th, we'll have our first call where we come together, and it's only once a month and it's optional. So don't let any of that hold you back. All right. Thank you guys. We'll see you soon, hopefully.